Welcome everyone. Thanks for being with us. It's a privilege to have again a special guest, Barry Gordon, and I'm going to let Barry introduce his company and stuff like that. But he's an outstanding gentleman, tremendous experience in helping people settle estates, but also in helping people downsize their home. And and I've asked Barry to just provide a presentation. I'll have questions for him, but then he'll present that through. What I want people to understand that there are ways to make things so much easier for them to downsize, because it can be very difficult, can be stressful, time consuming, and there's a way to have it done where it can bring peace of mind and help you solve a problem. So with that, I'll pass it off to you, Barry. Thanks again for being with us today.
Thank you, Mark. It's a pleasure to have the opportunity to visit with your clients and your followers. And I'll go ahead and open a slideshow here if I can find it. Again, just a little bit of searching to.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, I just shared the screen, so you can share when you're ready.
Okay, I'm just going to dig a little wee bit deeper here. It takes me a minute sometimes to find these things. There we go. We're very close now. And there we are. Share. And I'll just get onto full slideshow. Okay. And you can see that okay, Mark?
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay. All right. So my name is Barry Gordon. Their company is Gordon's Downsizing Estate Services. And really, we're an integrated real estate and transition company. So we built our company to provide a better option for people downsizing. So when you're selling real estate and you're 20 and you're 30 and you're 40 and you're 50, you hire your friend, the real estate agent, or somebody who's competent in the area, and you list your house, you sell your property, you move to the next thing. And you are often selling your property and buying your property and closing on those two things on the same day, because you're going to move the mortgage from your existing property to the one you're buying and then expanding it. You're moving equity and you're, often upgrading, which is terrific. And all of that is the domain of a traditional real estate agent, we would argue. The other thing that we would argue is that when you're ready for the last big downsize in particular, where you're selling your house and you're moving to some rental accommodation, whether it's an apartment or whether it's a retirement community, it's a different piece of work. It's a different complexity, and you should see better options, frankly. And the real estate business is built for the real estate industry. It's built for real estate agents. Our company was built for people settling an estate or downsizing. We're going to talk about downsizing in this segment, because we think that many people are simply better served with a different option, an option that allows integration across everything that they're up to. So I'm just going to explain how our business flows. And then if you have questions along the way, Mark, that you want to make sure that I address, then just jump out and tell us what they are. So for our service first, we would meet the client. Client would call and say, hey, Barry, tell me about your service. We would explain it to them, the relevant supports, typically at the property or virtually. So until COVID, we'd make almost all of these meetings at the property where the person was and walk through it with them. Since COVID and you couldn't go see people, we found that it's a lot more convenient actually to meet with many people in a virtual setting, because if they want to have their daughter or their cousin or their lawyer or their anybody else who supports them in decision making for big decisions, their financial planner, as an example, could be in the meeting at that time and hear everything firsthand. We always say, listen, who's the decision maker? They'll say typically, well, I make my own decisions. I own my own home. I'm a widow, whatever. And that's terrific that you make your own decisions. But before you make your own decisions, do you typically rely on someone else? Is there someone else that you would like to have in the conversation? Because if you do, it's better to include them right at the outset and have them on a Zoom meeting so they can hear everything firsthand as well and help you decide based on the firsthand information. And they may have questions that you didn't think of that get asked, and those questions might make you think of questions that you hadn't thought of otherwise as well. So you just get better questions, better answers, better decision, and then everybody can move forward. If you choose us, this is the way it's going to go forward from here. And if you don't, too many people, they say, well, I'm the decision maker. They listen to the conversation.
Yeah.
They get excited. They say, wow, that sounds amazing. And then
Hmm.
they ask somebody for advice who has no knowledge
Yeah.
of what the option looks like, right? So they call, let's say, their son who lives in a different city and say, hey, Johnny, I just had this great presentation. I think this is the right thing for me to downsize. Johnny's never heard of us, but he went to college with a
Yeah.
buddy who's now a real estate agent in
Yeah.
that town. He says, hey, forget about this. I'm going to call. As a matter of fact, we had this exact situation in the GTA. We had a situation where we had a downsized potential client, a daughter in Edmonton, son in Vancouver. The daughter in Edmonton said, look at mom, you need these people. The son in Vancouver said, I got a buddy.
Yeah.
And it was a struggle internally in the family. Now, they settled on our side of the fence this particular time.
Yeah.
Now, what's happened since is the buddy of the guy out west
Mhm.
has continued to bug him over the period of time. And he's decided that that guy was nefarious. He was a bad choice in the beginning. He's
Yeah.
completely glad they didn't go that route. Anyway, that's just one anecdote.
That's
But
something.
anyway, we meet, we explain our service, what it costs, how we go about it, et cetera. And then the person gets to decide whether this is for them. And if they do, we formalize an agreement.
That's good.
So next for most people downsizing is where are you going to go?
Mhm.
So if you think about the parallels, if somebody makes an agreement with a real estate agent, generally it's how fast can we get it on the market and how much you think it's worth. That's getting the cart ahead of the horse because
Yeah.
you do not want to get your property in the market when you don't know where you're going. So the
Mhm.
next pragmatic step you engage our company is where are you going to go? Now, for our clients, our experience is that that are going to a retirement community have often pre-selected it. They've had some
Yeah.
visits, they've got an idea that that's where they want to go. Not always, but sometimes. And people that want to go to an apartment are 50-50 about whether or not they've even found the place they want to go to. So for us, we're going to support their search of where they're going to go. That's the next step. Help them decide on what it is. And then once they've locked it in, then we'll move forward with what we call floor planning. So
Mhm.
that's getting a copy of the floor plan of the suite that the people have chosen and or apartment. And we talk to them about the furniture that they've got and the things they'd like to keep in their life. And we make
Yeah.
a plan and we
Okay.
show how it's going to fit on the floor plan so the person can see this is how much stuff's going to fit. Too often people get stopped in decision making around downsizing because they don't know where to start, but also they don't know how to decide what they need to keep in their life and what they're prepared to give up. Well, if you move first, it
Yeah.
simplifies that whole world a ton because the apartment you choose helps you decide how much you're keeping.
Yeah.
And after that, it's just okay, what are you going to do with the stuff that's left, right? So we get this all figured out so they know what to keep, what to give away, what to sell. All right. And then once we know what's going to get moved, we schedule everything. So we book the trucks, elevators, resources, people, understand what the community rules are and their safety policies, et cetera. And we organize the plan. And then we execute on it. So we get them packed up, moved, unpacked, bed made, pictures hung, clothes in the closet, boxes gone, so that it's all done. They're ready to have tea at 4 o'clock with their new next door neighbor or go down to the social lounge and have a nice visit. So
Uh-huh.
no stress. It's all done. It's over. Right. And then back at the house, we support the flow of things wherever they need to go. So sometimes some stuff, ship this to my daughter,
Mhm.
put this stuff into storage. This stuff goes to charity, shred these things. There are documents that need to be shredded, et cetera. The one thing I'll say about storage, we have seen clients who called and said, listen, we downsized 10 years ago. And at the time, we put a bunch of stuff in storage, and now we need to get rid of it. Can you help us? And the answer might be no. It probably is no.
Yeah.
But the problem, to just describe the problem, we've seen people with $300,000 in storage bills.
Wow. Wow.
And
Wow.
I promise you one thing, 99.99% of the things that go into a storage locker are worth less in monetary terms when they have to come out.
Yeah.
So it's a brutal problem. So for us, if somebody says, listen, I need to put some stuff in storage because my daughter's moving and she won't be in her new house for 2 months
Yeah.
and she wants this stuff, but she needs it at the new house. That makes sense. Let's put some stuff in storage. But if it's going in storage just because you don't know what to do with it, in a traditional real estate flow,
Yeah.
without a company like ours and a mindset on staging, which is insane for somebody at this stage, and we can talk
Yeah.
more about that later, then often it's like, hey, just get this stuff out of the house because it's going to be easier for me to sell your house if it's out of here. So
So
what do we do when we can't think? We just push it all into storage. Well, now
yeah.
all you've done is kicked it down the road. I liken that storage it's a permanent solution to a temporary problem. No, it's a sorry, it's a yes, I'm losing my mind on it, but it's basically it's a long term. It's a thing that never ends,
That's
right?
right.
And so you don't want to take storage lightly. It has a purpose.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it, but you need to know what's the exit plan before you go into a storage locker.
So let me ask you here. So let's say you're working with this a family, an individual to do downsizing, and in the process, you got to throw all this stuff away. They want this to go to this relative, um, and all of that. Is that something that you physically do for them?
Yeah,
That's great. Wow,
yeah,
that's amazing.
yeah. And there's a lot of nuance in there. I could talk all day about different examples. I mean, some of the things we want to do when we're doing that is we want to kind of make sure that the recipient wants the stuff.
Yeah,
Often a person downsizing says, my granddaughter's going to get these dishes. No problem. That's
yeah,
fine. Does she want them, or is she just telling you she's going to take them because, she wants to appease you and stay in the
yeah,
will? Like like what's important about these dishes? Because if they're just going to get in a bin somewhere else. And the other thing that happens too, both in estates and downsizes, sometimes there's lots of people around say, hey, grandma, can I have that? Or ma'am, can I have, Aunt Jenny, can I have this thing? And they just want it so they can take it and sell it somewhere.
yeah.
Right.
And
So,
yeah, it's interesting because when I'm helping families with their estate planning, and then you realize when they're getting their will together and they're thinking things through, the doll collection that the wife had for 4 decades, her daughter doesn't want, right? And the dish set, they don't want that, and the book collection, the kids don't want a lot of the things that we think that are valuable to us that we'd like to pass on. Oftentimes they don't really want it.
yeah, yeah, that's exactly right. So we just want to help them make the best decisions for them and their family. And then for the contents that nobody's going to keep, we typically have an online auction. So
Oh
we
yeah.
use Max Sold, and it was purpose built. It's a company that was my brainchild, and I'm just a small shareholder of it these days.
Okay.
Operates with different ownership and management largely, but it's a good company for the purpose of clearing the contents of an estate or a downsize. So when somebody wants to go, lots of people say, listen, I'm afraid I don't know where to start and I don't know what I'm going to do with all my stuff. Well, generally speaking, specifically speaking, Max Sold was built to find a home for whatever you've got that you're not going to keep. So it puts it into different people's hands. It's transparent, it's safe, it's finite, it's competitive, it's arm's length, and everything brings something, and collectively it makes some kind of sense. And it
Yeah.
puts a little bit of money in your pocket to offset some of the other expenses that you're going to incur in your downsize, et cetera. So it's a good product. It's a good tool. We've sold valuable things through Max Sold and
Yeah.
modest things through Max Sold. And it can sell everything from the extra laundry detergent in your laundry room up to your Mercedes
Wow.
that's been 10 years in the garage.
Wow. That's great.
Yeah. And then at this stage, the house is empty. We've cleared everything out, so there's no confusion. And we have a look at the property. Does it need some paint touch up? Some things that the seller wants done before they let other people in it. In our experience, 95% of the people that we downsize just want to get what they can for the house that they have. They're not
Mhm.
looking to remake the house or renovate it. They
Yeah.
just want to, but on the other hand, some people are not entirely comfortable with their house being presented the way it was because they're feeling it was a little unkempt in certain areas. So we can spruce it up. We can add some paint. We can get it tidy. We just want to make it so they're comfortable putting the property in the market. There are all kinds of buyers for all kinds of properties.
Yeah.
And whatever your property is, there's going to be a buyer for it. There's probably going to be multiple buyers for it. But um, we want to present it in a way that the seller's comfortable.
Mhm.
So that's the next piece. And then we get inspections, et cetera. So in our company, we have an internal policy that says that the listing agent is not allowed to work for buyers on the sale of that particular property. So we eliminate the most common conflict of interest in the real estate industry. It is legal in Ontario for a buyer agent to also work for a seller and vice versa on the same property. In our company, we don't allow it. We feel like we're always dealing with fiduciaries or people that are somewhat vulnerable, and we don't want them to have any unnecessary distractions. So we feel like it's just not best practice to have the pressure of them confronting an offer that is from the same agent who's listed their property. So that's not going to happen with us.
Yeah.
So when we know that's not going to happen, then we want to make it as easy as we can for buyers and buyer agents to understand the property and bring the best offer that they can on offer days. So, and we want everybody to be on the same page and have the same information. So how we do that is we get pre-listing inspections of the property, wet inspections for wood burning devices, septic and well for rural properties, and title issues, anything that we need to understand thoroughly so that the property is completely marketable and transparent as best we can. And then we put it on the market. We get our updated research. If the seller needs a third-party appraisal, we'll get it. But at the very least, we're going to do our market research. Our agent is going to show them where their most similar property sales are, and then draw the conclusions so they can see what the properties around them sold for, et cetera. And then with that, we'll give them our best advice and say, look, we think this is the best listing price. So you decide. It's their choice at the end of the day. And then when a property goes on the market, we always want to get a note from our seller that says that they don't want to look at offers until it's been on the market for a certain period of time,
Yeah.
typically 7 to 14 days, making sure that everybody has an opportunity to find the property, see the property, put themselves in the best position to bring the best offer that they can. And then we want to build an offer date and time that plays to the strength of the seller. So if we have a seller who's a morning person, we
Yeah.
want to have offer presentation 11 o'clock in the morning. If we have a person who's strongest in the afternoon, then we want to have it in the afternoon. If we've got a seller who needs to have their daughter in California in the call and she's on a 3-hour different time zone, then we
Yeah.
want to set a time that she can be there too. So we want to put the seller in a position of strength so that they can make the best decisions that they can for themselves without chaos. We don't want 10 o'clock at Saturday night offer calls that say, hey, you got to make a decision before 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, and my daughter's away for the vacation for the weekend. I can't get her. We want a nice, pragmatic, organized thing. We're going to drive offers to that particular time so the seller can make an easy decision that's in their best interest. And then once they've sold the property, our invoicing goes through the lawyer's office. It's going to have commission. There's going to be any third-party expenses that we incurred, like the truck and men, we
Yeah.
would have prepaid. And just the other thing that I maybe didn't make clear is we cash flow everything at no
Okay.
extra charge. So it's all built into our value package. So the truck and men that are going to take them
Mhm.
to the retirement community that they're in, all of
Mhm.
the extra expenses that we're going to incur along that path, we're going to pay for those things and
Yeah.
then bill them all back on closing. So we're like the injury lawyer. We don't get paid until you get paid.
Yeah.
And at the end, we're going to charge our commission. We're going to get reimbursed for our third party expenses at cost. We're going to get reimbursed for our wages of staff, and we'll show how many hours and how many people, and we can keep them up to date on that through the process as well. And then we typically have a flat fee across the entire thing for incidentals. So a nice, tidy package. And for most downsizers, they're going to have a net check for proceeds from their online auction that will help offset their total costs as well. So it's a nice, easy package, and that's
That's
basically the
good.
process that we offer.
So talk to me about, let's say someone is interested and they work with your company and And sometimes they have a time frame where we got to do it real fast, and other times they have more flexibility in their schedule. How long does it take once they determine they're going to work with you for you guys to start doing things on their behalf? How's that process work?
Yeah, so that's a terrific question. And the answer is right away if they need it right away. Now,
Mhm.
it's common in downsizing scenarios for a crisis to be the driver of
Oh, yeah.
events.
Yes.
So let's say mom fell and she's we get a reasonable amount of calls from someone where mom is in a hospital
Mm.
room recovering.
Yeah.
Her next move, because something happened at home,
Yeah.
now she's in the hospital. She's going to move from the hospital to something else. It might be respite at a retirement community. It might be a retirement community. It may be an apartment. She may be going to get completely better and she's going to get to an apartment, something. But at the moment, she's not there and they need some things done right now.
Yeah.
So we can do the things that they need right now, like secure the property as an example,
Yes.
set up property checks, et cetera. And then support the rest of the stuff as quickly or as slowly as it needs to go. So our approach is to make an agreement with every client for a year. We make our agreements for a year because if they get done in 3 months, they're done. So it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. But we
Good.
make them for a year. So because we got lots of clients who are unsure about their time horizon. In the
Yeah.
estate business, it might be an estate probate process that takes 10 months. But in a downsize, it might be I want to downsize and I want to hire you to be my partner in the process, but I don't know where I'm going to go yet.
Yeah.
And they want to move to something that's very specific. Like I want a specific community. I want to be on the fourth floor and I want a 2 bedroom suite. Well, there's only two of them.
Ooh.
And they only come like you may be waiting 2 years before you get that thing done. And
That's
if
right.
it goes longer than a year with us, we just amend the contract, add another year to it.
Okay.
But in the meantime, we're in a position to support whatever the right flow of time is. And if they have a need to go quickly, so sometimes people say, I want to go really quickly because I can't afford the place I'm going to and I need the cash out of
Yeah.
my house. And so even with that, we want to take a little chaos out of it. Like we want
Yeah.
to let them know, listen, I mean, if you've got short-term cash flow, we'll help you with that. We would rather do that than have you feel like you need to sell your house in 2 weeks
Yeah.
in order to make it happen. Like if it takes 2 months to make the rest of the process happen so that the right furniture goes in the right places and the
Yeah.
right process happens around the best and everybody's able to work with lower stress, then let's just stretch it out a little bit and we'll come up with the money to make it
Yeah.
happen. Right. So people are often stressed by crises that they don't understand how to solve. And often
Yeah.
there's things that we can solve for them.
Well, that's great. Can we talk about just for a second, like kind of the emotional side for the client? So let's say I'm working with people, they've been in their home for several decades. The kids, they grew up there. Maybe they became a widow, and that's where they were with their spouse and all this stuff. So how does your company help them work through? Because they got to work through stuff, right? They got to transition or whatever. On the emotional side, talk to us about that. What's that
Yep.
like, and what do you guys do?
So here, what I can tell you is this, that the process of choosing where you're going to go, how much room that has, and which things I need to keep for sure
Mhm.
is a big help in that emotional process. Because
Yeah.
when that happens, it makes it crystal clear to the client, to your client, what is staying in their life, right? It just puts a physical space around it, and it says,
Yeah.
okay, this is what I can. So then all of a sudden, everything that's back in that house is
Mhm.
now extra in one way or another.
Mhm.
And so that might be that I want my kids to have a chance to choose the things that they want first. No problem. How long do
Mhm.
you think we should set for that?
Yeah.
Well, one of them's got to come in from Western Canada. They can't get in
Mhm.
for 4 months. Well, does it make sense to hold the house for 4 months as an expensive
Yeah.
storage locker?
Yeah.
Or is it better if we went in the house and did a video call with
Mm.
the person out west and walked through things with them and
Mm.
helped them make decisions there and then supported the shipping of those things out or the movement of some of their stuff, if it's big and bulky and expensive to move, into a storage locker for a temporary stay,
Yeah.
maybe at the expense of the son or whoever's at West. And
Yeah.
then when they come in with a U-Haul, they can take it all back in the summer. So we can help them achieve things that they're comfortable with from an emotional
Yeah.
standpoint, and then also help relatives make the decision of what makes sense for them, right? We've shipped things to relatives that didn't want it.
Yeah.
And, with mom's instructions that don't ask them, I don't want them to know. And it's like, well, do you know how expensive this is going to be? But whatever a person wants, we'll help them achieve it. And we'll always help them think it through on the levels that that are going to be important to them, so they can make decisions on emotion. And the other thing that naturally happens when you move to that new space and you've got the stuff that you decided to keep in your life and everything else is in the house, you gain emotional distance from the
Yeah.
stuff you lived with for 40 years. And it becomes a little easier to sell that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all of those things fall into
Oh,
place
that's
to
right.
help them.
That makes sense. Well, this is great. I feel that this is a tremendous value that you provided us here that we can share now to so many people in the years to come. So, what we're going to do is we'll put your contact information for your organization in the comments section so people can have access to that. And then we can have this available so when people need to think through this process of downsizing, I can have them look at the video and that'd be very, very helpful. So thank
Yep.
you, Barry, for your precious time and being with us today. So we'll yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just say one thing before we stop the Zoom, and that is that basically we work throughout the province. So anywhere in populated
Okay.
Ontario in general, where we're candidates, certainly.
Well, that's good. That's good to know. So Ontario. So then if someone is in a remote part of Ontario, they can still contact and you still service them. And it's good to know.
Yeah, so we say populated Ontario. There are things that economically don't work. Like, I mean, uh, you know, Kappa's Cape. I'm thinking Kappa's Casing.
Caps casing, yeah.
Timmins. Some of these places are going to be difficult for us to get to. But generally speaking, from Ottawa to London and from Sudbury to Niagara Falls is all territory
Oh, that's
that
good. So then the
we can
Golden
directly service.
Horseshoe is a shoe in. Anyone within the Golden Horseshoe that
Oh
would
yeah.
work. Okay, that's good. Well, thanks,
Okay.
Barry.